Okay, so good morning to all curriculum experts who are in this conference, and it's really my privilege to share with you my thoughts on curriculum innovation. My brief talk is based on the chapters that I wrote for two international handbook, no, two international handbooks of education published by Springer, and the other one is published by will be published by Elsevier. So you see now we are in the midst of the pandemic, and we are experiencing so many challenges, including the curriculum. So it's therefore crucial that we make our curriculum pandemic proof, adaptable at the same time, is able to produce future ready learners. And thus, I will be sharing with you about curriculum innovation adaptable to a new learning landscape. But before I start, let me start with these questions that you may want to reflect on. First one is what are the key competencies that you want your students to develop? And the other one is what are the essential factors or items that we should have to achieve these desired competencies? Your answers to these questions, of course, will shape your view and implementation of the curriculum. But what do we know about curriculum innovation? So let me start by contextualizing this. Now, let me share with you first the four industrial revolutions. We have the we have the first IR, first industrial revolution, which focuses on mechanization, and then the second industrial revolution focuses on mass production and electricity around 1870s. And then we have the third industrial revolution, that's the electronics and IT. And then currently we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which focuses on cyber physical systems, also AI. No? So for IR, it refers to an era of the cyber physical systems and the Internet of Things where digital, physical, and biological innovations converge. And of course, the field of education has followed suit as IR revolves. In my next slide, you will see, given this recent development, many jobs declined. So you will see there that the jobs that declined include data entry clerks. We also have postal service clerks, which we now experience. And on the positive side, there are some opportunities that will open as well. So among this, we have the artificial intelligence specialists and content producers. So you see that technology adoption will continue. So that's the implications, one of the implications of this one. So technology adoption will continue, and in some areas it will really accelerate. And we expect that by 2025, time spent on work by humans, and this is according to the World Economic Forum, humans and machines will be equal. And of course, because of this, the future seems good for the white collar online workers. Also, because of these changes, uh, the Philippines has adopted the outcomes based education. But, despite this, a gap still exists between what the industry requires and what the academe produces, and that's so obvious nowadays. No, so why? Because the problem is our curriculum fails to be ahead of its time. Our curriculum is heavily premised. It's heavily premised on the present and sometimes on the past. Now, in fact, I have read in one of the reports that 65% of students who entered grade 1 are likely to land a job they have never heard during that time. I'm not saying that you completely develop a new curriculum. It would be impossible because we have a national policy. But what you can do is we can adapt the curriculum, we can adjust it and refine it, we can make it more focused and relevant. How? Of course, by understanding some of the recent and established principles in curriculum development, particularly in curriculum innovation. And that leads me to my topic, which is curriculum 5.0. So right now we are currently at education 4.0 environment, and at the doorstep of education 5.0. Because of this, we need to be ready for the next industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution has been criticized for being technology centric. No? Palagi na lang technology yung uh, focus, and in fact it takes human workforce out of the industries as more and more industries shift to automation. So what's happening now is more of people adjusting to technology and not the other way around. So that's the beauty of the fifth industrial revolution. No? It brings back humanity, the realm of the society. But of course, it does not abandon its predecessor. Rather, it promotes a synergy between technology and humanity to further increase productivity and efficiency, with the main goal of promoting quality human life. So let's define what curriculum 5.0 is. The two keywords here is, firstly, it aims to produce future ready learners. That's the first one, no? Who possess the 21st century literacies. And there's so many, also known as multi literacies. There's so many forms of literacies. We have the traditional and you have the contemporary literacies. We have scientific, numerical, digital. These are some of the types of 21st century literacies. And aside from that one, it has to be ahead of its time. It has to be state of the art. It should be able to predict what would be the demand in the next 5 or 10 years. So that's why the curriculum developer should be aware of what is to come. So that's very, very crucial when you are developing curriculum 5.0. And aside from this, you have to consider different curriculum 5.0 principles. So you'll see here that it's high time to revisit our curricular framework to make our curriculum relevant today and in the future. The first thing that you have to have, of course, is you have to have a clear goal, and that is to produce future ready learners. That's the one that's in the middle. And then should be surrounded by several factors, no? The outermost, the one that's within the box, no, you have the extra situational factors there, social, cultural, political, you have environmental, and then you have the economic. And then the outermost circle, you have the theories of learning there. And then the second outermost circle, you have the principles there. And then the second innermost circle, that is the processes. So you can have your own framework, but of course, you just have to consider all of these things when you are developing your own curricular framework. Don't forget also, of course, to consider the institutional thrust, national policies, and industry demands, because these factors will shape the goal and objectives of the curriculum. This is a general framework, and then you can also come up with a program specific framework. Let's say for education programs, and then for psychology programs, for nursing programs, dentistry programs. You can come up a specific framework for those uh, programs and just integrate the recent principles in those fields of specialization. And once you have developed your curriculum or curricular framework, of course, when you implement it, no, this is a mantra in the curriculum innovation implementation. You have to design backward and then deliver forward. So when we say design backward, of course, you have the overarching goals and the demands of the industry and society, and then one at a time, you move to more specific levels. So from national standards or goals, it can go down to key stage standards. That's for college, senior high, junior high, elementary. And then after that, you may have program standards. No? And then after that, you have course standards, subject level. And then after that, you have lesson objectives. So that's how you will observe alignment. No, I should start from the national, no, the bigger one, the overarching goal, and make sure that all other lower levels of standards are aligned with one another. And then when you implement it, of course, that's you deliver it forward. So make sure that classroom implementation is correct. If it's problematic, then we will have a hard time in achieving the overarching goal, no, and the goals per level. And we have to make sure that there is a corresponding assessment for each level. For example, for lesson level, of course, you have there the, let's say, main task. For the course standards, no, subject level, the other one is lesson subject level, you should have course assessment, no. And then for program standards, program assessment. Key stage standards, yeah, you should have key stage assessment. If you have institutional goal, then we have to make sure that you have an assessment that will measure, that will show you whether you achieved the target standards or goals of your institution or not, no. And then of course we should have national assessment to ensure or to see whether we have achieved the national goals and standards. But of course, the major problem that we are experiencing right now is that sometimes the learning outcomes are not clear. Sometimes there's a mismatch in assessment. There's a problem in instructional delivery. And of course, there are some problems when it comes to the resources. So the problems are systemic. Therefore, the solution should also be systemic.